this lesson, we'll cover creating panel schedules. Basically, a panel schedule is a special type of schedule that's automatically generated from data within panel objects. For example, when you select the panel, first after you create it, you can actually choose the Create Panel Schedule button that does appear on the actual ribbon. This will then allow you to pick a template to create a panel schedule table. As you add circuitry and other electrical elements to that panel, those will be applied and shown within the panel schedule. So for example, let's add a panel, and then after we've added the panel, we'll actually add a panel schedule. So let's go to the Systems tab on your ribbon, then over to the right in the electrical area of the ribbon, click on Electrical Equipment. In the Properties area on the left, click the drop-down for the type and choose M Lighting Appliance Panel Board 208 volt. We'll do the 100 amp unit. Now for placement, I'm going to move into the third floor, and I'm going to zoom in on this. And just align it to the right of the PP-3A panel, and click to place it. After you've placed it, click Modify to end the command. Now this places the panel located on the wall, being that's what it's hosted with on the third floor. Now to create a panel schedule, simply click on the panel itself. When you do, the Edit toolbar appears to the right of the ribbon, where you can edit the actual family, and you can actually edit work planes, pick a new work plane. But you also see a new button for Create Panel Schedules. So if you click Create Panel Schedule, it's going to present you with two options in the dropdown. Use the default template based on your settings inside of Revit, or choose a template. I'm going to choose a template. This will list the available templates that you could pick from to actually create a panel schedule table. I'm just going to choose the first one, Branch Panel. Click OK. This will then generate a panel schedule table where you can actually see the columns, rows of everything within this panel. Currently, there's nothing because we haven't actually added anything to this panel, but you'll be able to see information that can be useful downstream for your project for verifying locations for your circuits, length or voltage, breaker size, and even wire size. So all of this information is going to be gathered and contained and displayed within the actual panel schedule. Now to close the panel schedule, simply just click the X in the upper right. That closes the panel schedule. The panel schedule is also in a special group in the project browser in the lower left. So if you scroll down, you can actually see panel schedules. And these are all of the current panels in this project, with the one that I just added at the very top, the 100 amp or 100A schedule. Go ahead and click in the background in order to deselect. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at creating panel schedules. We first talked about creating a panel, and once we have our panel inside of our Revit model, we can select that panel. Then we can choose the Create Panel Schedule icon from the ribbon. From here, we can pick a template to base the panel schedule on, and then that panel schedule is actually created. We also looked at viewing the panel schedule in the special panel schedule area of the project browser. In this lesson, we'll cover modifying panel schedules. So if you've already created a panel schedule, we can modify it. One method is to select the panel and then modify the schedule from there. So let's zoom in to level 1, and I will select the MDP-1 panel. When I select this panel, on the ribbon to the right, I have an option to edit panel schedule. Let's go ahead and click that. This will open the actual schedule table. Here, I could change the template if I want. By clicking the icon in the upper left corner of the ribbon, I can pick a different template. I could rebalance loads, or you could rearrange your circuits. For example, if I want to move the LP-1 circuit up or down within the panel itself, I can select that cell within the table. Then on the ribbon, the circuit area, I could choose Move Up, for example. This will move the circuit up one location or slot within the panel. So go ahead and select LP-1, then on your ribbon, click Move Up. And you'll see LP-1 now moves to circuit slot 1. Now you can also assign spares, remove spares, lock these in position in the panel, or group or update the names. You can also update the actual text or font used within the table. And I can see that on the very right where I have Edit Font. You can also change the alignment vertically and horizontally with the two options on the right side of the ribbon. Now to close the actual schedule, just click the X in the upper right within the schedule window, and that will close the schedule. Another way to edit the actual schedule or modify it would be actually to look in the project browser in the lower left. So if you scroll down in the project browser to panel schedules, below that you'll see the listing of panel schedules. So if I wanted to edit again the MVP-1 panel schedule, I could find it, right click on it, and here I could change the template if I wanted to, or I can open it to rearrange the actual circuits. And with it open again, I'm back here, same location where I was before. And once again, I can update the actual schedules by modifying or moving the circuits to different slots, assigning spares, removing spares, blocking circuits in location, or updating names, or modifying the font or how the text is actually justified. Again, to close the schedule, just click the X in the upper right. Click anywhere in the background to deselect. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at modifying panel schedules. We looked at two ways to open the panel schedule for modifying. One is choose a panel first, then click Edit Schedule from the ribbon. The second way was to browse in the project browser in the lower left to the section on panels, and then find that schedule and right-click and open it from there. Once we had the schedule table open, we were able to reposition circuits to different slots, assign different values, spares, if you will. Also, edit the text or font, or the alignment or position of that horizontally and vertically within the table. In this lesson, we'll cover MEP schedules. So scheduling and the scheduling tools inside of Revit MEP basically allow you to easily extract information about your project. For this lesson, we'll cover the MEP schedules. So this will allow us to extract and tabulate mechanical equipment, electrical equipment, information about your ductwork systems or your plumbing systems, and all of this can be placed within your tables. Look at some of the schedules that are already created in this sample project. In the project browser in the lower left, scroll down to Schedules and Quantities. Here, you can see a list of current schedules that are already in this project. Try and double-click the first one, Electrical Equipment Connection Schedule. That will open and display the equipment connection schedule. To close it, just click the X in the upper right. Now let's create a new schedule. So to do that, let's go to the View tab on your ribbon. In the Create panel to the very right, you have a Schedule dropdown. Go ahead and click the Schedule dropdown. Now it lists a lot of options in this dropdown, but the one we want for this lesson is just going to be Schedule Quantities. So click Schedule Quantities. Next, you're presented with what type of schedule you want to create. The filter list on the top actually will allow you to filter down to a specific discipline or area. I'm just going to verify mechanical is selected. And then let's say we want to make a mechanical equipment schedule. So I'll scroll down in my category list to mechanical equipment, and then I could give it a name in the upper right. Now, by default, it chooses the name of whatever category you select, and it also put the word schedule in the name. Now, in this example here, I happen to put a number 2 at the end because this schedule table already exists. So I'm just creating another one for this example. We're going to leave it set to schedule building components, and we're going to leave the phase to new phase construction. Click OK. Next, you're presented with the schedule properties. First, we need to tell Revit what fields do we want in this schedule table. Let's choose family and type. Click Add. Scroll down, choose Panel, and then scroll back up and choose Circuit Number. Add. Now, if you accidentally added too many, as I did, select the one you don't want or that you didn't need to add and click Remove. You can also move these up and down in order by choosing to move up or move down buttons on the bottom. One last field I'm going to add is the level field. Add it. Now, before I click OK, let's look at the other tabs. The Filter tab is the second tab. This would be if you want to filter out, for example, a specific type of mechanical equipment. I could filter that out. We're not going to filter anything for this lesson. Go to the Sorting and Grouping tab. I would really like to sort these elements by level. So my sort by, I'm going to choose the first option, level. Now, if you want to also produce a space, or let's say a blank row between these groups, choose blank line on the very right. Also, if you want the word level to appear above the group as a heading, choose header on the left. Let's go to formatting. Here's where we can actually format the font, the position, how it's aligned for each of the actual fields. You can also hide the field. For example, the level field we really don't need to see in a column because everything is grouped by level. So what I'm going to do is check hidden field in the lower right for level. Therefore, the level will not display as a column because again, it's displaying as a group heading. Last tab is appearance. This is more for the actual line work of the actual table itself. This is where you can control what the lines look like for the actual body, title, and header area. With all of this set now, just click OK. This will then produce the schedule table for mechanical equipment. Now I can resize this simply by dragging the actual columns to a specific distance or a specific width, or I can also use the tools on the ribbon at the top to delete, resize, hide, or insert various columns and rows. You can also use the appearance settings on the right to actually change the shading, borders, font, and your alignment. Now, as you add new elements, they will be added to the schedule table. But looking at the schedule table, I can see the actual column headings for the fields. Notice we do not see a column for level because we chose to hide it, but you do see these are grouped by level, and the level has a heading based on our settings that we set within the actual properties. Now, if you need to go back and make an edit to any of these actual properties for the table, you can choose the settings in the properties area on the left. Scrolling down to other, you have your field edits, filter, sort, format, and appearance. And clicking any one of these edit buttons will bring you back to that schedule property window that we saw previously. Click OK if you open the property schedule window. Now this schedule table that we just added is now listed in schedules and quantities in our project browser. I can see it's emphasized in the bold print. So in this lesson, we looked at MEP schedules. We first viewed the different schedules that are currently in this project, and then we walked through creating a new schedule based on mechanical equipment. We looked at the schedule properties, adding fields, changing our filters, sorting, grouping, formatting, and the overall appearance of the schedule table. We then displayed the schedule table and looked at the ribbon of controls for the schedule table. We also looked at the properties and how to actually edit the properties of the schedule table. And lastly, we looked at the schedule table as it's located now in the project browser. In this lesson, we'll cover lighting schedules. So after you've created a lighting layout with your circuits, lighting fixtures, and lighting equipment, we can actually create a schedule to capture all of this information. To create the lighting schedule, let's go to the View tab on your ribbon. All the way to the right in the Create panel, click the Schedule drop-down button. From the Schedule drop-down button, choose Schedule and Quantities. This will open up a new schedule window. First thing is change the filter list on the top to electrical. This will only show the electrical categories for creating schedules. Next, in the category list, scroll down to lighting. And here you can see you have two types of categories you can make a schedule on: lighting devices and lighting fixtures. For this example, let's choose lighting fixtures. The schedule name will be listed in the upper right. By default, it uses the category name and then uses the word schedule. We're going to schedule it based on building components, and the phase is going to remain new construction. Click OK. Next, we see the Schedule Properties window. First thing we need to do is tell Revit what fields we would like to see within this schedule. For this example, the first field we'll add is Family and Type. Select Family and Type, click Add. Next, let's choose the actual panel that this Family and Type is connected to. Choose Panel, click Add. If you accidentally add the wrong column or too many columns, simply click the one you don't want on the right and click Remove. Now a third column we'll add will be Circuit Number. Click Add. And then let's add some information about the actual fixture itself. For example, let's add model, let's add manufacturer, and finally, let's add cost. Now you can add as many fields as you want, But for this example, we'll only add these 6. Now, before we click OK, let's look at the other tabs. Filter tab would be a way to filter out certain electrical or lighting fixtures. We're not going to filter any for this lesson. Sorting and grouping. This is how I can sort and group all of my fixtures. Let's say you want to sort these and group these by level. Well, if you look at the sort and group dropdown, you don't see level. It means we need to add the field. So let's go back to the field tab, scroll down to the category or field level, and add level to the end of your list. Now let's go back to the sorting and grouping tab, change the sort by the level. If you would like to see the word level as a header, choose header on the left. If you would like to see a blank row between levels or groups, choose blank line on the right. And you can sort by a secondary or tertiary as well. Click Formatting. Here's where we can change the formatting of each of the actual fields. But let's say we do not want to see the level field because it's already being grouped by level. Therefore, we don't need a column for level. So what we can do is hide this. Choose Level, then under Field Formatting in the lower right, click Hidden Field. The last tab is Appearance, and this is what controls the actual lines within your table. For this example, we're just going to leave everything set to defaults. Lastly, click OK. This will produce the actual schedule table for lighting based on the fields we chose and grouping and sorting by level. And as you scroll down, you can see these are grouped by level with the header of the row level and a blank row between. Now, if the columns are not wide enough, you can actually drag the column width if you want, similar to any other spreadsheet program. You can also use the tools on the ribbon across the top to edit your columns, rows, the header, titles, and the appearance of all the elements within the table. To get back to the actual property window, on the left in the property box, you have an edit button to the right of all of the entries for fields, filter, sorting, formatting, and appearance. If you click edit, it will once again show the schedule properties. If you open schedule properties, just click OK. Now the schedule table is now listed in your project browser in the schedule quantities area. So if I scroll down to schedule quantities, I'll see the schedule table listed, the lighting fixtures schedule. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at adding lighting schedules. We looked at how to create a schedule from the View tab and then choosing schedule quantities and then selecting the appropriate lighting fixture schedule. From there, we added fields as columns to the schedule table, set the sort and grouping format, chose to hide one of the fields, and then clicked OK to actually produce the schedule table. We then looked at modifying the schedule table and using the tools on the ribbon for the schedule table. We also looked at using the properties area on the left to bring up the properties of the schedule table again to make modifications. And lastly, we looked at the new schedule table as it's being displayed in the project browser in the lower left. In this lesson, we'll cover system family schedules. So schedules in Revit, specifically MEP, aren't just for components or component objects. You can actually create schedules for system families. For example, on my screen, we have an HVAC ductwork system. We can create a schedule for duct systems, or piping systems, or cable tray systems for your electrical systems. Basically, this allows you to document everything within the system so you can keep track of quantities or materials. So let's go create a duct system schedule. Let's go to the View tab on your ribbon. Once on the View tab on your ribbon, in the Create panel to the very right is a Schedule button. Click the Schedule button and then choose Schedule Quantities. On the Schedule Quantities screen, verify the filter at the top is set to Mechanical. This will display just the mechanical categories for creating schedules. The schedule we want to choose is going to be based upon the category Duct System. So go ahead and click Duct System. It'll give the name of the schedule Duct System with the word Schedule, and then if the schedule already exists, as mine does here, it places a number 2 after it. Go ahead and click OK. Up next will come the Schedule Properties window. Here, we need to tell Revit what fields do we want to include in this schedule table. Let's add family and type. Go ahead and select family and type, click Add. Let's choose Flow, click Add. Maybe we want the system name. Click System Name, then click Add. Maybe we also want to include the static pressure. Select it and click Add. Now, if you want to rearrange the actual order that these fields are on the right, you can select the field that you want to rearrange and then use the Move Up or Move Down button. For example, I want to move the system name up. So I'm going to highlight it, click Move Up. Now, the Filter tab is the next tab over. This would allow me to filter out certain information, such as a system that we don't want to see. We're not going to do that, so we're just going to leave it be as is. Click on the Sorting Grouping tab. This is going to set how we would like to sort and group our systems, in this case, our duct systems. So on the drop-down, you see the fields we currently set in the first tab for fields. If you want to sort on one of these fields, just select it. So for example, I'm going to choose Family and Type as my sort order. If you want to put a header row at the top with this name of the field, click Header on the left. If you want a blank row between groups, click Blank Line on the right. Formatting will allow you to actually format or change the format of each field. Appearance will allow us to change the appearance of the actual schedule table, meaning the lines and the line weight. And embedded would be if we want to embed a schedule table. In this case, we're just going to leave it set as is. Click OK. This will then produce a schedule table based on the fields that we set for our duct systems. You can rearrange or resize these columns by simply dragging, or you can use the functional controls on the ribbon to resize, delete, add, or hide your columns or rows, title and headers, or change the appearance of anything within the actual schedule table. You can also use the Edit buttons on the left in the Property area for Fields, Filter, Sort Group, Formatting Appearance, and the embedded schedule. The schedule table we just created is now listed in the Browser area on the lower left and the Schedule Quantities area. Here we can see the duct system schedule table that we just added. And again, you can add a system schedule table for any of your other systems, piping system, mechanical system, or just say you want to create a schedule table for just your duct work. You can create a schedule table just for duct work if you wanted to. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at creating system family schedules. We talked about what is a system family schedule, and basically one based upon your systems that you create within Revit, such as your duct systems or your mechanical systems or your electrical systems or your piping systems. We then created a schedule table for our duct systems. Went to the View tab and choose Schedule and Schedule Quantities. We added the fields that we want to see within our schedule, arranged them in a specific order, added a sort and a group format to the actual table. We then looked at the actual functions to actually change the font or the appearance or the line weight of the actual schedule table. Once the schedule table was open, we viewed the ribbon and how we can make modifications to all of this from the ribbon. We also looked at the Properties area on the left and using the Edit button on the Properties area to bring back the actual schedule table properties window to make the same edits. And lastly, we viewed the project browser, seeing that our schedule is now listed in that area. In this lesson, we'll cover material takeoff schedules. So typically, a material takeoff schedule shows you more information in regards to material in other areas than a normal schedule would actually show. But in MEP, if you're wanting to create a material takeoff schedule for a system, unfortunately, the material takeoff capability is only geared toward components. So we can still create a material takeoff schedule, but it can't be of a system. For example, I could go to the View tab, then on the Create panel, I can click the drop-down, and I could choose Material Takeoff. If I choose Material Takeoff, I could set my system, and as long as any of these components have a material assigned, I can use it within the takeoff schedule. However, maybe I'd like a material takeoff schedule of piping, and I would like to see the type of pipe, the length of pipe, and an overall total of length and maybe cost, and view it by system and by type or by family. Well, to do that, I don't have to technically use the material takeoff schedule. I can accomplish the same thing with a normal pipe schedule. So let's go ahead and click Cancel, and we'll look at creating that type of schedule. So now let's go back to View tab again, to the Create panel, to the Schedule dropdown, and choose Just Schedule Quantities. Verify the list is filtered to piping, and then scroll down and choose the category for pipes. The name on the right will read pipe schedule, but you could rename that to material takeoff schedule or pipe takeoff schedule, however you wanted to depict what the schedule name is. In this case, I'm just typing pipe material takeoff schedule. Schedule by building components, and the phase will be new construction. Click OK. Now, the first thing Revit wants us to do is define what do we want in this schedule, field-wise. Well, let's start out by choosing the family and type. We'll add that. After I choose the family and type, maybe I'd like to also include some information about the actual pipe system. So I'm going to scroll down and choose system name. That'll tell me what system the pipe belongs to. Now, after that, maybe I'd like to know some other information about the pipe system or the pipe segments, such as maybe length. So I'll select length and add length. The other information that I want to include could be, let's say, the inside diameter and maybe the outside diameter. And lastly, if I wanted to sort on, let's say, material, such as copper or PVC, I want to add material. So I'll select material and add material. Next, what I want to do is I want to change or set a sort and grouping format. So let's click the Sorting Grouping tab. And what I'm first going to do is sort by material. I'm going to choose header on the left so that way it displays the header of whatever material it is. And I'll choose a blank line on the right to actually separate horizontally the groups by material. The second sort then, I'm going to list by system name. And again, I'll choose header on the left, but I'm not going to put a blank line between these. On the very bottom, I'm going to choose grand totals. This will add up the columns that I tell it to. For example, let's say length, I can add up that length column. Go to Formatting tab. Here's where I can set the actual calculate totals variable. So if I go down to the length field, on the very bottom, I can choose calculate totals. Now, since we're sorting by material, you probably don't want to see the material name repeated over and over again. So I could choose material and I could choose hide field. So it doesn't display that over and over again. We don't need to see that column. Now, if you want to include cost as well, if costs were factored in or entered into each of these components, you could enter in a field for cost. So let's go back to the Fields tab, select Cost, and add it. Now, if you want to move cost above material, just select Cost and choose Move Up. So right now, we're going to create a schedule that looks like this that includes material. It's going to be sorted by material, then sorted by system name, and it's going to total up the fields for length and also for the number of items within the table. If you did calculate cost and you want to total cost, go back to the Formatting tab, select Cost, and at the very bottom, choose Calculate Totals. Finally, click OK. This will then produce your pipe material takeoff schedule showing the actual pipes by material, as I can see, copper, then by actual system, domestic cold water. And then because I chose to list all of the instances, it's listing all of the instances, showing the length, inside and outside diameter, and if there was a cost associated. And I see the actual extra space in between the actual two sorts, the material and also the system family. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I'll see my totals based on me telling the system to total the overall length and the overall cost. So as a review, in this lesson, we looked at material takeoff schedules. We looked at a traditional material takeoff schedule being created by view and then material takeoff. We know that that material takeoff schedule can be created on any component that has a material associated to it. But the takeoff schedule can only be done with components, not systems. So if I wanted to make a material takeoff schedule for systems or to show me the material or cost of a system, we could just use a normal schedule table. And that's what we did in our example by making a pipe material takeoff schedule by creating a schedule based on pipes, adding fields for the family type, system, length, and diameter and cost, telling it to actually sort by material and by system, and then also to total the actual fields for length and cost.